Aliza's coming on. I don't see her. Aliza, come. Anyway, so okay, so maybe I'll just talk about Aliza before she comes on. Oh, hey, Gila, can you message your mom and tell her how to get on this on this live? Because but I'm gonna introduce Aliza before she gets on. So Aliza is an interfaith chaplain, and she is the mayor of Mitzpeh Yericho in Israel. She is my go-to person to call when I am a little nervous about reaching out to somebody, especially when I've procrastinated for months. And yeah. What else? So she's an interfaith chaplain in the French hospital in Jerusalem and at the Hod Yerushalayim nursing home. And she started her journey in Boca, and she was in LA for a bit. Their family does world traveling, but she's literally the most sensitive person that I know, and she always knows what to say, and I'm a little jealous, but I do have the benefit of calling the Madam Mayor whenever I need her. But where is she? Oh, there's Aliza. Aliza, request to join. Aliza. Oh, there you go. Go, Aliza. Oh, is it working? Aliza, hi everybody. Thanks for bearing with us. Hi, Aliza.
Hi.
Thank
you so much for joining me in Mitzpeh today.
What?
Thank you for joining me in Mitzpeh today.
Oh, yeah. Around the world. I'm so excited to have a lunch coffee date with the mayor.
Well, it's dinner here.
Oh.
In Israel. So for those of you in Israel, I hope that you're enjoying your dinner.
And
for
Naomi.
Those of you in North America, I hope that you're enjoying your lunches.
All right. So I already kind of talked about you.
I heard on Gila's Instagram account.
Oh, okay. And what did I miss?
No. I didn't hear everything, but because I was just watching in amazement that she could easily breeze through all of Instagram as I'm sitting here like a complete idiot because I'm challenged with age.
Good thing Gila was on.
Yes.
Gila, thanks. Shout out.
Hey, Gila. Okay, so should we jump in?
Yeah, let's start.
Uh-oh, you
okay.
froze.
Oh, did you freeze? Okay.
Now we're good. Okay, so I wanted to start. How did we title it, Rebecca?
Well, I'm not sure if you really like the title that much.
Well, the first time I loved.
But I guess the idea is that sometimes it's really difficult to put yourself out there and to show up for people, especially when it's not so natural. As I said, I don't know if you missed this part, but I tend to not know what to say or do. So I call Aliza to find out what I should say and what I should do. Because I never know what to say and I always say stupid things. But but thank God I have Aliza, and thank God all of you have the opportunity to hear from her, but she can start talking to us about I forgot to put a phone on do not disturb, so any of my friends don't call me during this. But yeah, so if you could just kind of start talking about showing up, the importance of showing
Okay.
up.
Yeah. So the first thing is, when you talk about saying the wrong thing, I want to address that as the first thing. And the way that I equate it is really in a talk that I often give to many different ages of people, because something that we come across throughout our lives is in Judaism what we call bikur cholim, and visiting the sick. And something that's interesting in Judaism is that the textual prayer for somebody who's sick is we pray for their physical health and their emotional health. And no matter what, and specifically for Project Proactive, when we're talking so much about emotional health, that we need to be visiting the sick, doing the commandment of Bikur Cholim. And when we are introduced to this commandment in the Bible, we start with Abraham being visited by God himself. And what God showed us in that action was God said, I myself am going to come to you, Abraham, and be there for you.
Uh-oh, Aliza, are you cutting out? I think you're cutting out. Is anyone else, can everyone hear Aliza, or is it just me that it's not working? Hello? Uh-oh, we lost Aliza. Everyone, hang in there. Naomi, go help your mom. Okay, Aliza's back on.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you heard that piece about Abraham and God, but I think that what God is showing us when he goes to visit Abraham in the Bible, and we're introduced to the commandment of visiting the sick, I think it's very interesting that God himself came. And what God is saying is, show up. And we don't know what words God used, because ultimately our goal when we go and visit somebody, helping them with their mental health, helping them with their emotional health, helping them with their physical health, is to just bring ourselves. And we need to make ourselves available for that person. And, when you talk about saying the wrong thing, it's pretty hard to say the wrong thing, because just your presence is enough. And that's where our challenge comes in, is that you don't need to say anything. All you need to do is to be there and to listen with no judgment. And one of the things, we have like these chaplaincy words that we'll use, and we want to use active listening. So when we're listening to somebody else speaking, as you can all see, as Rebecca is modeling so well, is she's nodding and she's smiling. And I know that when I'm speaking, Rebecca is listening to me. And to me, that's very comforting. I know that I'm not just speaking to a wall, and that I'm not alone here talking into my phone like an idiot. But actually, Rebecca is listening to me, and I feel comforted that Rebecca is here with me. The next thing that we do, that we try to do in chaplaincy, is we try to validate. So when I say, I'm not here alone, Rebecca could say, you're right, I'm right here with you. And that would be a great response. It doesn't have to be words of a brilliant response. All it needs to be is repeat the same words back and say, I'm here with you. And those are the things that people need. We need to give people the space to heal and know that they're not alone. The Talmud talks about how when you visit somebody who's sick, 1/60th of their pain is taken away. And that's a very strange thing. What does that mean, 1/60th of their pain is taken away? And for those of us who have been sick, which I would assume is most of the world, if not everybody, at some point in their lives with either something minor or major, when you know that you're not alone, when somebody is there with you, yes, 1/60th of that pain, and sometimes even more, is taken away. And it makes it a lot easier to deal with whatever garbage you have to. Another tool that we like to use is meeting people where they are. And that's something that we want to try to do when we're sitting with somebody else and they'll cry. We want to cry with them. When somebody is laughing, we want to laugh with them. So even though we know that when we're calling or we're sitting with somebody that is in pain, if today they want to smile and they want to laugh and they want to tell jokes, we can do that. And if they want to cry, we feel comfortable crying with them. So my goal, and what I hope that we can all do when we go to be with somebody that is in pain, is to try to be there with them. So we want to say, you're smiling, I'm smiling. I'm going to meet you where you are.
I guess you have to be really good at body language.
Oh, okay. I'm told that I keep on getting disconnected and that I should.
No. I mean, I could hear you.
Okay, fine. So then we'll continue like this.
Oh.
Okay, if we get cut off, then I'll move up.
So I don't know if you just heard, but I guess you have to be really good at reading body language to be able to do that. Right?
Yeah, yes and no. It is about reading body language, but if you are listening to somebody, which means taking your phone and putting it down, it means really watching people's full body, listening to the words that they're saying, watching their eyes, watching their face, watching their mouths, watching how they're twitching and, doing different things, then you could say, I'm right here with you, and you can actually feel what they're feeling. And obviously it's not the same, but you'll know because you'll be able to feel where they are.
Sounds good.
If anybody out there, by the way, has any questions, please write them in and we'll answer
I
those.
have like a whole list of questions because I figure like I might as well, once I have the mayor on the phone, I might as well just like get all my questions, So, okay, so this is like a big one. So, you know how, I'm not saying I do this, but how some people would procrastinate actually, visiting somebody or calling somebody that's not well, or, and then, months have gone by and you haven't called yet. And then you're like, oh shoot, it's too late to call. I can't. So what would be like the protocol for something like that, where you just like, it's like past the point of embarrassing?
So I would say that like generally it's important to own up to it and to just say it. Like most people aren't keeping tabs, and if they are, then all the more so you need to call them. But it's really just about saying, hey, I know that you went through that trauma a couple months ago, and I didn't get a chance to give you a call, but I want you to know that I was thinking about you then and thinking about you now. And leave it at that and put it out there. And this way, if the person is upset at you, they'll be able to say it. And if they're not, great. And they'll know that, you know what, I'm not alone. And very often what I find is that, even though people move past a trauma and they'll be able to, they're able to function again, and if we look at like, an example of death, right? So they'll mourn, and in Judaism, we have the 7 days of mourning. And even after those 7 days, it's not like at that point, the person is no longer sad, but it gives you an opportunity at that point to really be an ear for that person. And if you think about like the real pain of loss, it's not just those 7 days. So if you would call on a day that may be difficult, like the deceased's birthday or a holiday, and imagine, when somebody's preparing for a holiday, like a big holiday like Passover or Christmas or something like that, and they get a phone call and say, this might be a tough day for you, and I just wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. And that would be incredibly thoughtful. So I wouldn't miss that opportunity, even if it is months later.
That's a good point. That's really important. I actually wrote more questions down, but if anyone else has questions, somebody has a question.
Yeah. So Penina. So that's something Penina asked. Let me just go back there. She said, do you have any tips for active listening over the phone when the person you're speaking with can't see your facial expressions? Yeah, so over the phone, I find very challenging. I like using my body language, nodding and smiling and using my body language a lot. So I find it very challenging over the phone. I also like to read people's expressions, both facial and body expressions. So that is a challenge for me. But what I try to do is I need to use more verbal expressions and more verbal communication. So I would overcompensate on that by saying, yeah, I hear you, saying those things out loud instead of just nodding. And then in addition to that, I would use more questions of, clarification questions. So when somebody says oh, I hate it when this happens, say, wow, it sounds like that must be really frustrating. Or was that frustrating for you? And when you ask that clarifying question, then you're able to put a better pulse on it and you're not guessing what emotions they're having, whereas you might, it might be easier when you're in the same room as them. So I would say overcompensate on the verbal communications when you're on the phone. But I do identify with you, Penina, on the challenges of connecting over the phone.
And texting is like a new thing now.
Oh yeah, texting is really hard. It's really hard. Although I think it's a great way of, just sending someone, it's a very safe way of, sending someone a note. And, sometimes people don't want to be, they may not want to be bothered, and you're not sure if they do, and just writing a note and saying like, hey, by the way, I'm thinking of you and I am available if you want to talk. So, putting it out there, and it's kind of very safe. So this way, you're not making them uncomfortable. You're not walking into an uncomfortable situation. You're texting, you're making yourself available, but not being intrusive. Yeah, so I actually like texting, but it's just hard to pick up any type of
WhatsApp
emotion.
is even better because then you could delete if you type something stupid, then you could delete it before they see it.
Sometimes.
You can tell I'm a little self-conscious about saying the wrong thing. Anyways, so I have another question, and we can take questions from the floor after this one. But so when sometimes when I hear people say Gamzu Latova, like that everything's for the best, and or like they'll go to somebody at a wedding and say Mirza Shambayu, like that, that's their turn next, and that kind of so I feel like even though these things are generally like things that you would think are nice to say, they're kind of cringy a bit.
Very.
So
yeah, well-intentioned, like very hurtful statements.
Right. So could you talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So, sometimes like you just see people like walking into it and you're like, no, don't. And like, there's nothing to do. Like, it's too late. They're so far into it and there's nothing to do. When it happens to you yourself, and it happens, like where we don't even realize it. Like we'll say something like, oh, this, to somebody like, oh, isn't this so nice? And like they, to a girl to a single woman at a wedding will say, oh, this is so beautiful. And like, we didn't know that she happened to have just broken off her engagement that day. So that's like well-intentioned, very nice sentiment, but very hurtful to that specific person. And then when she shares that, then you say, and then you just need to own up to it again, like it happens. We're going to make stupid, hurtful statements, hopefully unintentional. But when it happens, own up to it and say, I am so sorry, I did not realize, and then move past it, and it's out there. And that's it. But, you can't really do anything when people make those things. You want to like jump in and just stop, rewind, and as you say, take that WhatsApp message, but you can't because you're live.
Right. So I mean,
one of our favorite listeners sent in a question with
hi,
a common
Michal.
relationship. Hey, Michal, any advice for helping a friend who's struggling with something that is very apparently there in your life? That's hard. I think, Michal, what you're talking about is if I, let's say, am struggling with depression and it's not something that's out there, and a friend comes to me and says, I'm suffering from depression, and how do you handle that? Michal, is that the question? Hi, Penina. Michal, is that the question? Okay, well, we'll just go with that. We'll pretend it is. So if you're comfortable with it, I would share it. I think that, for me personally, I like to share with other people, and it is very helpful for other people to know that they're not alone. And specifically when it comes to mental health issues, when people know that others in the world are with them, it's not a crazy thing in the world to have depression, to have anxiety, to have any mental health issue. And these happen to probably everybody at different points in their lives. And one of the, I just heard a lecture from a psychologist who was talking about, spectrum of all these DSMs, and really everybody's on the spectrum, of some type of depression and some type of anxiety. And, when you are able to share that with somebody else, it really helps them get through that. And it's not something that you have to do, but it certainly is something that you can do. And either way, for anybody that's in the psychosocial fields that's listening to this will identify with the idea of when we have something that affects us and we have countertransference. So we'll imagine that that's what the other person is experiencing. So it's very important when we know that we too are struggling with that same thing Michal was talking about. She gave an example of if a friend is having infertility issues. And if that's something that I myself have gone through, I need to recognize the fact that my friend that may be going through that right now is not me. And my feelings and my emotions about it may not be the same as my friends. It may be helpful for her to know that she's not alone, but at the same time, my real goal is to be there for my friend. And I'm saying that as a friend and not as a patient or a client or anything else, because as a friend, you want to know I'm there with you. But remember, most importantly, that your friend is not you. So even though it may be helpful for them to hear, yes, I went through the same thing, through a similar thing, it's never going to be the exact thing. And my feelings are going to be different from your feelings. And just for the fact that you're in Ontario and I'm in Mitzpeh Yericho, Israel, just from the locational perspective, it's going to be different. So that's just important to remember always. Michal, I hope that was somewhat helpful.
So it looks like Michal, so I'm wondering if what Michal wants to know is, like, let's say you're in a room with somebody and like you just got engaged and your friend's been trying to who has been dating for a long time. Like, is that kind of what,
right.
kind
yeah,
of like, I think
stuff.
her second comment elaborated. Maybe, are we on the right path now, Michal?
No, and I see that she said that you have what they don't have. So meaning like,
there we go.
There we go. Okay, great. So so I see what Michal is saying, and I think it's just I would not want to alienate that person. Try to be sensitive, but at the same time, don't alienate that person. So if you have a baby and your friend is struggling with infertility, I wouldn't not invite that friend, because then the friend is going to be with a baby. I would allow your friend to make that decision on their own. And if, and this is something that you would need to really figure out for yourself, but if it would be appropriate within the framework of the relationship to say straight out, like, listen, like, I know that you're struggling with infertility, and if it's hard for you to come to my house, that's okay, but I want you to know you're always invited. And to be comfortable saying that if it's appropriate, and if not, not to alienate the person just because you think that it may be a problem. Let the person themselves make that decision, and make sure that you're available for that person. And I think like the what's repeated over and over, and saying, is really just being available. And whether somebody is going to take you up on that or not is their prerogative. But from our perspective, we want to make ourselves available. I think that kind of answered Michal's.
Yeah. Okay, so if I have like 2 more questions that I wrote down, but if anyone else has one before me, feel free. So what if you're going through something? I mean, what if somebody else is going through something and you're not supposed to know about it? So, so you don't know whether you should reach out or not. That it could be. That's a hard one. Been there a lot.
So I always think it's good to reach out, and you don't need to say anything, and not only that, sometimes if I know that somebody's going through a hard time of whatever, and it's still a secret or whatever, just buy them like a little chocolate or, something, and just say like, hey, I was thinking about you. And then they'll be like, I'm actually and then that'll open it up for them to be able to say, yeah, I'm having a really tough time. And even if they don't say I'm having a tough time and they don't want to talk about it, it's just nice to know that somebody is out there for them. So I wouldn't address it, head on. Just because you know something doesn't mean that you have to share it with somebody else. But just to say, pick up the phone and say, hey, it's Aliza.
I like that. I like that one. So if nobody else has anything to ask, I have one more.
Go.
Oh, actually, I already asked the other one that I have. But I'm sure that there's like lots more questions. So tonight, I don't know if you know, so Rachel Tuffman is on live tonight at 9 our time. Aliza's going to be sleeping, so she will not be listening. But it's a totally different perspective than what we're talking about right now, because we're going to be talking about empathy with boundaries. And I will not be on that live. Shoshana will be. Thank God. But so, but anyways, so it's a totally different perspective, because Aliza is like definitely the master of, being there and being like all out, there for people when they need, knowing what to say, my hero in that way. And then Shoshana's going to talk about the other aspect of, when you're not the right person, or did I say Rachel? Shoshana, whatever. They're going to talk together. I know, right, Michal? Yeah, she really is. Lisa's the best.
This is great point. Thank you, Michal. Thank you, Rebecca.
I actually started. I don't know if this is like sharing too much, but I started an Aliza fan club. I didn't invite too many. I didn't invite too many people to it because I didn't want Aliza to feel, embarrassed. But if anybody wants to join, you could private message me after. It's a WhatsApp group. I'm not lying.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. And to everybody that's listening, I bless you that you should all be able to be there for others and create a community of caring that you would be there, that will be there for you when you need it as well. So Rebecca, I love being with you. I
I
look
know, it
forward
was
to
fun.
seeing you very soon in Holy Land.
We should do this again,
And
not live.
I know, daily. Have a great
Um,
day.
but
Oh, sorry.
okay. Oh no, I was just going to see if anyone, before we sign out, if anyone else has anything else to ask. No, no.
Alrighty.
Speak
Have a
now.
good day.
Okay. Bye, everybody.